So my business is publishing of music. We have a whole catalog of music. Like I said, we're going to talk to the Jamaicans through UNESCO Reggae and look at the dynamics of the industry, how we can redress them, and then make it a tool for reparation, repatriation, and centralization in Africa through the walk from Cape Town to Cairo, and make all the youths who join us to be the owners of the catalog, so that they buy the music as a way of investing into permaculture, you know, and that itself is going to attract the support, financial support, branding, and sponsorship to make sure that their programs by 12 by 12 can go forward, and we can retain our youths in Africa, and in that way make friends with all the right wing parties in Europe, because we say, hey, we got a plan to keep our people in Africa, and they say, wow, great plan, you fucking niggers, keep your nigger friends in Africa. I would say, yeah, give us some nigger sponsorship so we can do what we gotta do in Africa. And you can just keep them there. And in the meantime, you can just be nice and smile and say, yes, yes, yes. Fuck that. We don't want our children to be drowning trying to get to a fucking fake Europe that can't even offer its own people a future. Okay? Simple as that. So that narrative has to end, and we need to have some resolution between Europe and Africa, because historically, Europe and Africa have been like this, and we have created the greatest things in humanity. So we don't want the narrative to be taken over by this negativity now that came with slavery and came with other issues. Before that, we were great people who traded with each other, and that's what we want to go back to, see, or forward to. See? So that's King of Africa Publishing. So across Africa, across Europe, the publishing relations will be established. And here in Denmark, I can say that, well, you know, the other day, the stock exchange building, the tower burned. And that was on the Queen's birthday, the 16th of April. Very symbolic. But what is important to me is that building was a place where another one of my exes, Solvay, we had a great relationship. Like seriously, we were building together, building business together. And that's her forte, business. And she had done some research on the genocide in Rwanda. And she's been in Rwanda for a long time, building businesses in Rwanda. And she made a presentation of the prospects in Africa to businesses here in Denmark, in that building, the stock market building. And of course, I was very proud of her. And I always check in with her for advice of what to do. And of course, she's going to get this video, and hopefully we can do some work in Rwanda. The burning of that tower was symbolic to me, because for what I wanted to do, I wrote a letter to the Queen, and people would ask me questions like, did the Queen write back and all these things? And I said, she doesn't have to write back. God will write back in the right way, right? So I always wanted to have access to that building in terms of like presenting our agenda, the $10 billion plan, and what we need to do to Africa. All the instances for a new approach in Africa are there. And you can find that in the letter that I wrote to the Prime Minister. Experts on African development, when you read the letter, you'll see who these experts are. It's self-explanatory. Go and read it. And Emede Frösleo, and I believe was her name, and another guy, I forget the name right now, how business would lead the way in Africa in terms of development. Danida has been shutting down across the continent. The embassy shut down in Zambia in 2015, and it's been going on like that. Um, on the one side, and on the other side, we've seen a success story with Carlsberg establishing itself in Malawi. Um, all these instances are things which we need to put together and form into. That's why CCSR is so important at Gaisa In. We need to see how the legacy and the dynamics established by these institutions really can come together and give the type of coherence that gives benefit, and reap off of the effort that people put into it and believe they've put into it. It can't just, there couldn't have been so much effort. Like, take my parents, for instance, and all the work that they did, for it to just kind of like crumble to dust because we don't want to follow up, or we don't want to go and do the homework and say, this is the roots of this, and how does it fit together with the roots of this country and that country, and where they wanted to reach to, and make it become that program that can really benefit our people instead of people being miseducated. Because it's a tragedy in Africa. It's a tragedy in Malawi. In Malawi, we have a marine biology disaster with our lake, and we do have people who have degrees in marine biology from Malawian universities, but they don't get work, and they end up being mathematics teacher at a secondary school. Having said that, all the papers that have to do with any form of development, coherent development, studies on Malawian, they're all foreign papers. So the intellectual property of our situation is foreign owned, and that's not acceptable. We need all the research on Malawian issues to be Malawian owned. We need to own the intellectual property. See, how did I end up with this? Well, these grievances are what should inform the formulation of development policy in Africa. It can't be something that people just dream up in Harvard and then whatever works, or people just come up and look at the situation, because I witnessed that at KSA. I witnessed so many people coming to KSA doing the research papers for their doctorates and doing for whatever professorhood or whatever what you call it, and basically leaving us high and dry. So we just used in the information in the papers, and then they get the salaries of being a professor somewhere in America. And even when it is obvious that they need to have some kind of intervention to stop the dynamic that is happening, and faced with that dilemma, you find even the most idealistic of Westerners who come to Africa will choose not to really immerse themselves in the solution for Africa, but rather ignore it and go get their papers and get their doctorate and get the fuck out of there. So that is where I take a serious stance to say to my siblings that that cannot happen on my watch, and I will not let it happen on your watch. And if it happens on the watch of either my brother, my sister, and everybody, it'll be because they have rejected me putting the best case forward to say this is the reason why we must go in this direction with Gaesa In. Because we watched it happen. We've watched our people feel frustrated as one researcher after the other comes to ask the same questions for fucking 10 years for the same dentist program. And sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but people like Sam, who's my friend and all, was at the mission where Madonna got her children from, and there's a lot invested in it, and it all goes wrong. I mean, Madonna was convinced to look at Africa and to adopt children because somebody in Swaziland explained to her that, look, this is the situation. Or I think it was Malawi, but it could have been Malawi, Swaziland, coincidentally where my father is from. And Madonna was like, oh, this is unacceptable. She wanted to do something about it, but she was ill-informed because nobody presented what I'm presenting now. So what happened? Nothing really. Just a second. So that program went down, and they had to shut down that program. Well, she left it. She adopted kids, and she's gone on with her life. And these things are unacceptable. You see. So stock exchange building here in Denmark, if that could be a place where, as Africans, we can present, well, what's the new way forward for Africa? Because that was already there in the sense that Solvay was there presenting options for what you call it, investment in Africa as a consultant, and we'd like to really go strong on that. So I can't remember how I ended up here, but I think that kind of like shows you where we're going towards. My daughter is here, music business, publishing connected to permaculture, all of that, environment movement in Denmark, Denmark Egalitarian Society, from feudalism to proletariat, and all that movement, all that coming up together, Christiania changing from weed to non-weed, and the big spliff and all of that coming together. That's now, from now until September, all of that is happening. And Hold On to the Love You Got, a song that we recorded while I was walking, which I sent to Aston Barrett Jr., Bob Marley's bass player's son. He recorded that one, and they sent me the track, and I recorded some vocals on it, and we're releasing it now, making the video for it, and working together with the church here in Vesterbro. All these things are coming together between now and September. So that's what's going on, people. That's what I've got to say, and that's where Jimmy is at. Okay, now I gotta check out because housekeeping is knocking on the door, and I gotta get out of here. See, love. All the details on the website, and we can get more specific on those. But this covers the $10 billion plan as best as I could in those words. Okay, blessed love. See you out there.